Now, as Dominic mentioned just a moment ago, there are supply shortages of rapid antigen tests that have left chemists and customers across the country waiting to get their hands on them with no relief in sight. And this, of course, comes as the government urges asymptomatic people not to line up for PCR tests, with those clinics already overrun. But what's even more frustrating is that we have the sovereign capability to manufacture these tests right here in Australia, but they're being snapped up by overseas buyers. So why on earth is the government not awarding Australian manufacturers contracts to supply them locally? Well, here to discuss that is Trent Twomey, the National President of the Pharmacy Guild of Australia. Welcome to the show, mate.
Evening, mate. How are you?
Very well. Now, Trent, pharmacies across the country have been under significant pressure to get these tests in stock, with demand basically outstripping supplies. Where have we gone wrong?
So Australia is in a transition phase in the management of the COVID-19 virus. There are three key pillars to us managing the virus. One is vaccinations, the second one is testing, and the third ultimately is treatment, but we won't come to treatment until 2022. Now, on the testing side of things, we have the gold standard, the pathology-based PCR test, and then we have the point of care testing, which is the rapid antigen test. Now, most other developed countries, the mainstay of their testing regime has been the rapid antigen test, which was then supplemented once you had a positive test with a pathology PCR test. Now, in Australia, we've had it the other way around. The mainstay of our testing has been a pathology-based PCR test, and we've been supplementing it with a point of care rapid antigen test. Now, we had no warning. Now, you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to realise that as we open up the economy and we have tens of thousands of cases a day, we're going to need to do tens of thousands of tests a day. And our pathologies were not going to be able to keep up with demand. So we should have foreseen this problem coming. We should have had a nationally consistent roadmap. It's not the Commonwealth Government's fault. I'm the first to hold them to account when the fault is theirs. But the premiers and the chief ministers knew. They knew this day was coming. They knew there would be long queues, and they should have given warning to the market that we were flipping the switch and we were moving from pathology to point of care, and we would have been able to order in advance. But nonetheless, we are where we are and we're running short.
Well, in New South Wales in particular, I mean, residents have been encouraged to take these rapid tests to avoid clogging up the already buckling testing clinics. But if the supply is not there, you can hardly be surprised that people have to chuff off down to these clogged up testing clinics because they've got no other choice.
Absolutely. And most of these testing clinics are state-run facilities. And, mate, what happens over this festive season? State-run clinics shut down. So the only people that are left your private sector, your not-for-profits, your local community pharmacy, your local GP, all the brunt of this has fallen on our shoulders. Now, there are plenty of rapid antigen tests, plenty of point-of-care tests in the worldwide market. It's just Australia was caught off guard. Australia has run out. We will continue, unfortunately, to have regional outages for at least another 2 weeks. It won't be until the third week of January where we will have enough rapid antigen tests to meet demand. We will get there. It is a glitch. It is a transition. It's just unfortunate, mate, that you didn't need to be an epidemiologist. You didn't need to be a public healthcare expert or a senior bureaucrat to see this coming, right? We should have foreseen it. We should have given notice to the supply chain, and the supply chain would have been able to respond if it had been given notice.